Lift the package with a crane or pallet truck and place 2 thick wooden blocks under it, so that the brackets come off the ground. Take the crossbars and put them on the floor. Unpack the package as much as possible. The video first shows which parts are in the package, and where they are on the lift. Columns and ramps. Cover cabs. Electricity cabinet. Motor with pump. Box of different bolts and nuts. Brackets for the ramps. Box for motor and electricity cabinet. Rail for hydraulic hose. Roll-off protection. Connection wires. Loosen the bolts of the packing brackets. Lift the lanes and take them away. There are 4 runways, one with a cylinder. This one will be on the left of the lift. 2 empty. These will be in the middle. Note the rail and one with welded corners. This is for the wiring. This will be on the right of the lift. Place the crossbars on 4 logs. Column 1, front right, has a mounting plate for the control. Column 2, rear right, has small holes at the top and bottom. Column 3 and column 4, coming to the left, with the lock pointing out. Remove the guide blocks from the cross beam. Slide the column around the cross beam, and mount the guide blocks by sliding the blocks in the column downwards. Mount the cover plate with the 2 Allen screws. Do this with all columns. Lift the cross beams to the 4th locking. Mount the runway with the cylinder on the left side of the cross beams. The 2 empty runways in the middle, and the last one on the right. Slide the large bolts, width 22 wrench, through the runways and cross members from the inside out. The ramp mounting brackets are also mounted with these bolts. At the back, the motor box and the rail for the hose are also attached with these bolts. So you first has to assemble this motor box. Slide the motor box over the bolts and tighten the nuts. On the other side, first the roll-off protection plates and then the rail for the hose. Pull out the hydraulic cylinder, so that the cables become longer. Guide the cables out of the runway. Make sure that the cables are correctly positioned around the cable wheels, and that the correct cables are placed around the correct wheels, top, bottom. The cable goes above the small wheel, and under the larger wheel, to the top of the column, where it is fixed with the 2 large nuts. Turn the bolts, wrench 17 mm, into the bottom of the runway. These ensure that the cables cannot slip out of the cable wheels. Bolts, wrench 17 mm, with nuts, through the crossbeams. Also ensure that the cable cannot run off the cable wheel. Place motor unit and electrical box in the metal box. Place the motor with the terminal box upwards. Open the junction box, and mount the connecting wires. Yellow-green is ground and this goes to a crosshead bolt in the house. U1 and U2 for the other two wires. Turn the motor so that it stands on its feet, and secure it with the 4 bolts 14 mm wrench. Remove the 17 mm nut from the coil of the lowering valve. Open the terminal block. Feed the wire through the block. Connect the wires across the resistor and lead. Mount the coil back on the valve. Check that the hydraulic hose runs freely and does not touch the cables. Hose through the hole on the side of the runway, over the crossbar, through the hole in the engine box, to the engine. Tighten the nipples on the engine and cylinder. Connection for the lock. This is the packaging with S written on it. It consists of 2 long wires, one with a T-piece, and one with equal ends. From the electrical box there are also 2 connecting wires for this, one short with 2 male connections. This goes to the right, and one long with also a T-piece. This runs to the left, i.e. the right and left respectively, of the lift. Run the wires from the motor unit box, over the crossbeam, through the runway. Pull the wires through the available corners to the other side of the lift. Take the wires from the locking solenoids, run them over the crossbeam under the runway, and connect them to the plugs there. The connection wires for the slack cable protection. Packaging with an L written on it. It consists of 3 wires, 2 long and 1 short. From the electrical box comes a short wire with a male connection and a female connection. The 3 wires together form a closed circuit. If the wire is interrupted, the lift will stop lowering. Feed these wires through the runways, and through the special pipes on the crossbeams. Mount the ramps, using the pins. Take the control box, and open it by unscrewing the 4 screws. Take a picture with your phone of the connected wires so that you can reconnect them later without any problems. Disconnect the 5 wires. Mount the rear to the mounting plate on the column. Feed the 5-wire cable from the electrical box, through the hole in the metal engine box, over the crossbeam, under the runway, out of the hole on the side of the runway, to the bottom of the control box. Pass the wire through the nipple and reconnect according to your photo. Reassemble the front with the 4 screws. Fill the oil reservoir with 13 liters of hydraulic oil, with a viscosity of 46. Connect a 220 volt connection cable. The ground yellow green is PE. Blue and brown go to L1 and N. Note that the power group must be fused with 16C. Slow. Plug it into the socket. Turn the key and the light will come on. Press the up button until the lift has risen a few centimeters and hangs in its cables. Tighten the locking control bolts, not too tight. Check that the lock release is far enough. The block should be approximately horizontal. If this is not the case, you must loosen the bolt and turn it further, clockwise, into the knee coupling. It then becomes shorter and can pull the lock further free. Tighten the block of the slack cable protection so that, when the lift hangs in the cables, it always presses the switch. Installing the limit switches. Open the switch and disconnect the wires. Note how it is connected. Take a picture so that you can reassemble it properly later. Mount the switch on the cover with the 4 holes. Reconnect the wires. The 2-core cable goes to the top switch, and the 4 wires on the bottom. Now measure whether all corners are the same height from the ground. You can adjust this by tightening the large nuts on top of the columns. Take the 2 long bolts, wrench 10 mm, and mount it in the holes in the column on the right rear. Press the up button, and the lift will raise until the limit switch has reached the stop bolt, or you stop at the desired height by releasing the button. Once the lift has stopped, lower it into the lock with the white lock down. The lift sinks into the lock and can thus remain in place for a long time. If you now want to go down again, first press the up button. The lift will go up. Do this a few centimeters so that it can come out of the lock properly. Now press the red down 1 button. It will unlock and drop down until the foot protection limit switch. The lift stops lowering. Now press the white lock down 2 and the lift drops to the ground. If the lift drops too fast, you can adjust the lowering speed by turning the valve with an Allen key. Right around lift lowers slower, left lift lowers faster.